And that's why I hate my life. Anyway, welcome back to the podcast. We were recording what seems like about 30 minutes of extra footage, and some of it was actually freaking awesome. And all of it I wasn't recording on my camera, so we're not going to freaking use it. So that was
We were having
useless.
a very nice therapy session.
It was a nice session. I liked it was literally like you laying on the couch. I was smoking a pipe and I was like drinking whiskey on the side, and you were talking about your feelings. It was a great time. Larry was here.
Larry.
Steve? Did I call him Larry? I'm doing this again. I'm racist towards Steve. Sorry, Steve. Skull Lives Matter.
Never mind.
Oh, it's
Never mind.
Thank you. Who are you watching this? Thank you for watching. I appreciate you watching. If you are watching, why don't you go ahead and subscribe on YouTube? We do have a podcast on Spotify. If you do want to check us out, download our podcast for free on Spotify. Check it out there.
Who is this us you're talking about?
For me and Steve. I'm holding him in the logo. It's a team effort.
Oh, that's right. You did.
Yeah, I'm holding his head. It's like I think I got the image originally from what's that Shakespeare play? He's holding a skull. To be or not to be.
Oh, Hamlet.
Hamlet.
Okay, you talked about Steve, and then you forgot to introduce me. You did. You were like, "This is Caitlin. That's it."
Yeah, this is Caitlin. That's it. She's got checkered socks today. Look at those feet.
Yeah, no free foot pics.
No,
you need to
no
show your
pics.
feet. Show your feet.
I got a T-Rex. I guess it doesn't really show.
Glorious.
I got a T-Rex with a Christmas hat on my feet.
It's glorious.
Welcome back from the edit. That was rough. There's no context for that. What? House of Dragon. Anyway, House of Dragon's done. The last episode 10 has dropped. Crap has happened in that last episode. That was rough. That ending, Vagar. That's some interesting stuff. But to clarify,
we'll get into the last episode. We need to
We'll get into the last episode. To clarify, I want to clarify both of our thoughts on the entirety of the first season of House of Dragon thus far. How it compares to Game of Thrones. Just original thoughts, best characters. What do you think thus far?
I really like it. I think it, for me,
That's original. Continue.
I think it's on par. I mean, obviously Game of Thrones is like the original. It's like it's the OG. Like,
OG.
Everyone loves it except for the last season. I know you actually liked the last season.
I did.
A lot of people didn't.
No.
Anyways, I thought it was great. I really like the characters. I think eventually, maybe not episode 1, but they did eventually like become more detailed. They became fleshed out. Like I understood them more. Because I know you had complaints about that. You didn't feel like you knew the characters.
I thought, and this is my problem with really the first part of House of Dragon, I felt a humongous disconnect with a lot of the characters. Mm-hmm. And like there were some characters who were the obvious standouts, and those specific characters continued to be the standouts throughout the rest of his life. Viserys, I think his character is incredibly upsetting and sad and complex, and you feel sad for him the entire time, even though he's done some questionable things. And again, Daemon, just the way his character has been portrayed, is such an interesting, complex character in the way that you'd think he'd be kind of the stereotypical villain, but there's obviously some feeling in between, like the psychopathic moments. Like those characters continued to get better and better because they were the standouts on the first few episodes, but I felt, okay, those are the characters I want to see more of, but I'm still not, like the characters that I wanted more of originally were Rhaenyra. I could not get into Rhaenyra for the first few episodes. And the reason is that the actress did a fine job, but I didn't really know the reason why she wanted to become queen.
She didn't, is the thing. The first, up until the, spoilers if you haven't watched it, up until the time jump where they age all of them, Rhaenyra doesn't want to be queen. She doesn't want to be heir. It's not a position she's ever been told she could have, and then suddenly she has it, and she's kind of like, well, and then like, her father has a son, like Aegon is born. Yeah. And then she's like, well, I'm just going to be replaced and married off. And it takes a while for her to get that reassurance that she's not going to be until she's like older. And then we see she's more settled into the role. Yeah. So.
Well, she does want to be queen because she does want to be recognized because she's the cupbearer for her father. Mm-hmm. And she sits amongst the High Council. And she wants the small council. Yeah, the small council. There are going to be terms that I'm going to butcher and you're just going to have to correct me.
Gotcha.
She obviously wants to be recognized by her father because obviously she's a woman in the Game of Thrones freaking universe. Like, women are not, portrayed as the best. And so she wants to be, higher up. The problem with her, like, a lot of the areas I did not like her in is because she very much felt like a spoiled brat. Especially when she does become heir, she very much treats her father like garbage. And I realize the father he could have been so much more very clear on, like, I'm going to keep you as my heir, even though I do have a son, like, all of this stuff. He could have been more clear to her that she is still his heir and she's going to continue to be his heir. But at the same time, I felt like the young version of Rhaenyra was definitely kind of a spoiled brat in many ways.
Yeah, I think she is because, like... She's a princess.
Yeah, she's a princess.
Even before she's heir, she's a princess. Like, she has a dragon. She's, like... Even in the book, she's a lot worse because she's, like... She's considered, like, a prodigy because she's, like, a dragon rider at, like, 7.
Yeah, and
which is incredible.
Yeah, that's the first time we see her drawing that dragon.
Yeah. I mean, they age the characters different for the show. I understand why you think she's kind of spoiled, and she is because she kind of, like, never gets in trouble. Like, she just, like, kind of does her own thing.
And she really manipulates her power, like, to, like... I mean, and again, to a character who I don't like later on, like Sir Kristen. Kristen, who turns out to be, like, just a turd later on.
He's a turd.
He is a huge turd. But at the same time, she definitely abuses her power towards him, like, in that area. So in those areas, I just think that she's kind of a spoiled brat. And if I could get past that because it's Game of Thrones. There's tons of bad characters that do bad things, but I'm behind them. I just wish I knew more of her motivation during on. Now, later on, I really got behind her because I can see the struggle behind her actions and the motivations that she had for those actions, and I really liked old Rhaenyra a lot more than young Rhaenyra, which I feel like is not the same. Everyone likes young Rhaenyra. It seems to me, all the reviews that I've seen, everyone loves young Rhaenyra better than old Rhaenyra, and I just like old Rhaenyra better.
I mean... I like both of them. I like Rhaenyra as a character because you see her develop. You see, like, Daemon develop, too. But as for Rhaenyra, she's young, remember. She's very young at the start of the series. Like, in the book, she's even younger. But in the series, she's still, like, they portray her as very young. Like, she's, like, a teenager. She's not, like, really She doesn't have a lot of knowledge about, like, the world and how everything works. But you also have to think, her father, Viserys... His reign is incredibly peaceful. Like, when he dies, spoiler, he's called Viserys the Peaceful. So she doesn't get a lot of experience as, like, acting as heir, as acting as anything but, like, just waiting for her father to pass and be
pretty
queen.
Much, yeah.
So she doesn't get a lot of experience. I like her as a character. I like her when she's older. I like her when she's younger. I think she is kind of stupid when she's younger because she just kind of... does whatever she wants and doesn't really think about other people, especially with, like, Kristen and Daemon, like, that whole, like, love triangle.
Ooh, that was an episode right there. That was rough. We all knew it was happening.
4.
Oh my gosh.
Good God.
What a time jump after that. Anyway, like that. We'll get to that in a minute.
Anyway, but I want to continue because I mentioned Daemon.
Ding 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 Alabama.
Daemon has one of the best character arcs in the story.
Oh, explain.
I think he's great because, like, at the start of the story, like, episodes, like, 1 through, like, 5, like, you can see his clear intention. He wants the throne. He wants power. Like, even if he says he doesn't, he wants power.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm your heir, even when Viserys is like, nah, screw you. I'm going to go get someone else. I'm going to get someone better. And then Daemon, like, they do the time jump, and Daemon's more, like, settled into just being, like, secondary. He's like he kind of gives up his role. He goes to Essos and he has Lena and the girls and he's just like, I'm gonna be a dad and read the history.
He seems to, like, really enjoy his, like, because you see, like, his wife and him, like, riding the dragons, and he's like living it. He's having a great time. Like, his best moments are in Essos when Pentos. He's in Pentos when he's away from, like, King's Landing. He's away from the politics because he's no longer heir and he doesn't care. He's like, I'm married, I have 2 daughters, another child on the way, I just want to live life and be like, just, and Lena even talks about it when, like, they're given the offer to stay in Pentos
And he's like, yeah, I want to stay. And she's like, I want to go back to Westeros. I want to go back to Driftmark and be with my family and like take her like rightful like place. Yeah. Because she would technically be heir to Driftmark at that point. And
he has found something that like, this is like mine and this is special for me. And especially like, remember the image I sent you last night of like him legitimately being like the mournful
the scenes they
character.
Cut out, yes.
Dude.
Like, anyways, like his arc, even after that, like Lena says, like, you want to just be like some fat country lord. And he's like, yeah, pretty much. Like,
that's fine.
Like, he's settled into his life. And then stuff happens. He has to go back and he gets thrown back into the world. But even
we can spoil this. She dies.
Yeah, she dies. She, like, commits suicide by dragon. Like,
Vhagar, burn me alive. Dracarys. Yeah. Vhagar's like, no.
Vhagar's like,
why
not? And that's a really sad scene. Okay, side tangent. Lena, I'm so sad because like she got like one episode where we saw she's really cool and then she died.
Yeah.
And I'm so upset about it.
Straight up died.
So upset.
Her kids and her crazy hair.
But after that, Daemon like gets back into the politics, but he's not after power anymore. Like he just wants to be committed to Rhaenyra and his brother. Like he like shows great obedience towards both of them because she is heir, Viserys is king, and he just wants a family. He's happy, and I love him because he gets past that like lust for power, and then he just wants to support who's ever on the throne, his true family, which is Rhaenyra and Viserys.
Yeah, so. And I definitely like, and especially like later on, you can tell he definitely still has a bloodlust, and that's just part of his character. There are definitely some tendencies to that character that he just has maintained throughout the years, but once a war is the option, like he's full on war torn. That's later on.
He's a warrior.
He is a warrior,
and he stays with that. But his lust for like power goes away.
Yeah,
and he's just like, I will defend what is mine.
Yeah,
but he's like, I don't want to be king. I don't really care. So.
And I think it's beyond like going for his character. It's beyond just wanting power. I think he just wants recognition from his brother. He wants to be an equal to his brother, because there's a lot of times where he's just like drunk or whatever and like being a fool around his brother, and his brother is like, he is like aggressively trying to like do what's best for do what's best for Daemon, but Daemon's just refusing because I think he just wants attention. He's kind of a spoiled brat in that area as well as Rhaenyra. He just wants attention, but he wants to be recognized by his brother. He wants to be acknowledged by his brother. And that in and of itself like continues on throughout. Like he just wants to be acknowledged by his brother. That's the most of their tension comes from that. It comes from Daemon just wanting to be acknowledged and loved by his brother. At least I feel like. And then later on, once he kind of realizes that he's dying and that it really does start to click with him, like, oh no, like the end is coming for you very soon. And you can see that kind of shift in his eyes, especially when he's hanging his head, when he has to see what his brother has become after that long time. And you can tell there's some grief in his eyes.
Oh yeah, and I'm very upset that they cut out like the parts like where he's grieving, like not just Viserys, but also like the baby that Rhaenyra loses, because those happen like back to back. They get informed, she goes into labor, loses the child, and
my gosh.
like all they show is him like on the beach with his sword, but they cut out like so many good parts for him, like him being a good dad, him being a good husband and brother, and I think they did that for a reason, to make him more like the bloodthirsty like warrior type, which is what he turns into in the end for a brief bit. Like he like takes command, but I think it would have been better for his arc. But that being said, he has a great arc, and I love him. Because
I almost would not consider that an arc. I would consider it kind of maturing over time. Definitely. Because I think it would have been better if we didn't have those time jumps, and we got to see a little more progression instead of just time jump years later. This is him now. Like, it's almost a different character, even though it's technically the same person. Yeah. So I feel like it would have been easier if we had a little more time invested in that one time period where he's maturing over time. But either way, it still works, and he's still a very interesting character, especially where Matt Smith betrays him as the shovel-faced guy that he is.
He's another Ryan.
He is a man crush of mine.
He's another Ryan Reynolds. Like, I don't think they could have found anyone better for that role, because Matt Smith is just great. Like, he has such range as an actor, and like Daemon is supposed to, like you said, like he matures. Yeah. Showing that difference in character over years.
Yeah. And I think that he just betrays it in a way where it's not uncanny, just not normal, unorthodox. Mm-hmm. That's the word.
There's like a weird side.
Yeah, because you definitely say, like, you could either go one way or another with this character. You can either go the sympathetic, like, anti-hero, or just the bloodlust, hungry guy. And then with Game of Thrones, which has a lot of gray characters, they did both, and they melded it so well, where he still is definitely, like, war-hungry, definitely bloodthirsty, definitely seeks power, definitely seeks attention, but at the same time, there's still a love for his brother, there's still a love for his cousin, there's still a love for him. What is it? Niece. Sorry. Freaking ding 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 ding. And again, a love for his children, a love for his dragon. His dragon and him are essentially the same person.
Yeah.
That is a great dragon.
I love Daemon as a character.
Yeah.
I think his character in the show is better in the books, because in the books he's just this, like, he's the rogue prince that does kind of whatever he wants, and that's how he's portrayed in the book. But in the show, there's more depth to him. There's more behind, like, his motivations, when he pulls back, when he, like, gives up certain things to be happy. So,
and that's like, and again, George R. R. Martin, who wrote the books, he said, like, switching up a little bit, talking about Viserys. Talking about Viserys' character. He said, like, he portrayed the character of Viserys a lot more in depth and with, like, a lot more emotion than what he had written down, and you definitely get that across, because this character is just not upsetting, but definitely a mournful character.
You can be you're very sympathetic to Viserys. Viserys as a character, you just have so much, like, grief and empathy for him, because like, he's trying to be a good king, and he is a good king. He is Viserys the Peaceful. But his, like, family is very complicated because of, like, he doesn't have a male heir, so he names Rhaenyra heir, and then he has several sons, and then his daughter has several sons, and then, like, you know, throw Daemon into the mix.
Yeah.
God, the family tree is a freaking wreath.
It's right, and again, the fact that he's Valyrian, and then the fact that Valyrians tend to, you know, sleep with each other, which is rough.
There's a lot of sister and cousin and just everything.
Ding 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 ding. Anyway, I think I can sum up Viserys in this way. Viserys is a good man, forced to become the most powerful man on Earth, and with that, you have to make some rough decisions. Like, and again, a lot of people, like, give him flack for the very first episode, and it may not have been the best decision, but again, like, he also has to think of the kingdom, and, like, that's going to be the new heir to the kingdom when he dies, and he has to prep that. He has to think of his kingdom as well as his family, because he obviously loves his family. He cares for his daughter immensely, and even, like, says, screw tradition, I'm going to make you queen, and he sticks by that all the way up until his death, which he still does. He's not changed his mind.
He doesn't change. Freaking Alicent. We'll get into her in a second.
I do like Alicent's character, and I do like her a lot more than Rhaenyra in a lot of ways, because I think she's really complex, and I think she's just a struggling character. Anyway, but Viserys, like, let's talk about the best scene in all of the show. Viserys just walking from one place to another.
It's literally like 10 minutes of him just, like, walking across the room and sitting in a chair, and it's literally the most powerful scene in the entire series.
In the entire game. Like, if you took season 8 and took, like, all the battles, all the glory moments, and told me, like, an old crippled king walking from one place to another is going to be more emotionally driven than that entire season, which, by the way, I actually do like season 8, and I will get into that in a bit. Then I don't. Then I love that scene, and the fact that he's doing it for his daughter. Like, I'm getting up, I'm going to prepare dinner, prepare for my family, and prepare the way for my daughter, and be the king that she needs me to be right now. I'm going to stand up for you. And even, like, when Damien's helping him up the throne and submitting to his brother, like, you are the king, there's only one king, you are the king, and I'm submitting to that even in your old age, I'm paying you respect.
It starts out like Otto is, like, trying to get everyone to submit, Yeah. And then, like, it just, like, all of the different claims are being heard, and, like, Rhaenyra's like, this is such bull.
Yeah.
And Rhaenys is just kind of, like, twiddling her thumbs, which Rhaenys is a great character. I love her. And then Vaemond is being
Which one's Rhaenys?
The Corlys's wife.
The Sea Snake's wife.
Yes.
Yeah.
She's awesome.
She's pretty awesome, except for that one very bad scene that she's in, and I'll get to that in a second.
Wasn't her worst start. Anyways, that whole scene is great because it's powerful. Like, you start off with all this arguing, and then Viserys comes in, and I saw someone said online. It's like, he's not walking to the throne; he's walking to her.
Oh,
because the throne doesn't matter to him. It doesn't in that when he's at that age when he's like, I know I'm dying. It matters that his legacy goes on, and that, like, unfortunately, like, a war starts either way after he dies, but he tries to prevent that, and he sticks by Rhaenyra.
Yeah, because that's like his utmost pride and love is his family, and you see that in his like last scene with everybody, where he's seeing like the dinner scene where everyone for a brief moment is getting along, and you just see this like magical moment where he smiles and like, okay, my family's getting along. This is all I wanted in life. This is literally everything.
I cried during that scene. During the dinner. And honestly, they should have just cut it and not had the fight at the end, because the fight at the end doesn't make any impact on the story. Like, we know Aemond hates Lucerys. Yeah. We know he hates Rhaenyra is like her first 3 like sons. We know he hates them. We don't need them to fight again. It just breaks up like that beautiful moment.
Well, I think that whole moment is there because it shows that Viserys is the glue holding everyone together, and as soon as he's gone, literally as soon as he's gone, just conflict starts immediately.
Which I get why they kept it, because it shows there's still tension between the families. Like, it's not like everything is fixed with one dinner.
Yeah.
But I'm like, all it goes to show is that Aemond is...
Oh, so. Well...
Love him as a character, though. Love him.
He's a great character, and I do have a lot of love for him as a character. He's 100% a turd, but again, like, the thing that Game of Thrones does so well is it makes you understand characters that otherwise would have been very one-dimensional villains. I mean, he already looks like a villain. He has the eye patch, he has the sword, he's very intimidating.
Very sexy.
But you definitely... like,
very sexy.
Right. Screw it. Ending scene. Friggin' last dragon scene. Aemond versus that
Lucerys,
oh my gosh.
God, that scene was intense. Okay, to be honest, when that scene started, I was like, why is this here? Like, episode 10 was like very like, there's a lot of tension going on because like Viserys is gone, Aegon's been crowned unrightfully, and you're just like, it's the build up to the war. And then they had just this like dragon scene, and I'm like, cool, great, what is the point of this? And then that, like, spoilers, Vhagar, against Aemon's wishes, kills Lucerys and Arrax, his dragon.
Rather horror movie style. It comes out of the clouds and chomps.
Literally, like, there's this big tense scene where they're, like, chasing each other, like, and you don't think anything's gonna happen until Lucerys' dragon, Arrax, attacks Vhagar and then, like, flies away, and you're like, okay, it's great. It's fine. Everything's cool. And then Vhagar just chomp, and Aemon's just like... My mom's gonna kill me! I just started a war!
Uh-huh.
And he did.
He did.
Seeing
because
Rhaenyra's face in that
at the very end. And that was a great scene. And again, it shows Aemon's character is definitely conflicted about what he did because he didn't want Vhagar to do that. And it shows that the dragons aren't 100% going to follow you every time.
Yep.
I do want to switch back to Rhaenyra for a second and talk about what I love about old Rhaenyra. That she's great definitely... yeah, sure.
Great character.
She takes after her father immensely in the fact that she does not want to govern for herself. She wants to govern peacefully, and she does not want to immediately go for war, and she doesn't want to... She knows that war is probably inevitable at this point, but she's not going to enact all the dragons because she doesn't want to burn everybody up. And you can tell, like, in these moments that we see her acting as a leader, she's trying to be wise, and she's trying to be discerning, and you see that you definitely have gotten that from your father, and you know that your father governed peacefully, and you're not trying to be the aggressor in this scenario. So I really like that about her character, and that she tried to show restraint. But at the end, once that scene ends with Daemon, he's like, you know what? Screw that. You're all going to die.
It's a beautiful scene. It's a great way to end the first season, because it's not quite a cliffhanger, but you know, like, the war is about to start. And if you've read the book, you know the war does happen. Like, Like, I'm excited for that. Like... older Rhaenyra as a character is great because she's mature.
Yes.
She's level-headed. She's just, like, she's trying to be a good mom. She's trying to be a good wife to whomever she's married to at the time.
Whether it be
Laenor or
the absent gay guy or the crazy psychopath uncle.
She's just trying to be a good mother and trying to be like solidify her position as heir without violence. And she does take after Viserys a lot because she doesn't want war. She just wants to rule peacefully. And you can see that in like episode 9, episode 10 when she's like taking over as queen.
Yeah.
When she's like arguing with Daemon because he's like, let's go to war. Let's amass the dragons. Let's burn King's Landing.
Yeah, no, he's immediately like, let's destroy everything.
Burn out the Greens, burn out, like, everyone, like, solidify Rhaenyra's place. Like, he's very much like Dany after the snap. Like, that's the best way I can equate it. But Rhaenyra's like, no, we need to do this peacefully. She's kind of the Tyrion, like, the Jon Snow. She's like, we don't need war. Like, we need to do this peacefully. Yes. And also, like...
It says where Jon Snow turned into a cuck at the end. He is not.
Yeah, like she's trying to be a good person, and she has great love for like Alicent, and like those are her like half brothers, her half sister.
Yeah.
So she doesn't want to like kill family, and Alicent's the same way. She's like, I don't want Rhaenyra dead. Like in that small council scene after Viserys, like right after Viserys dies, she's like, no matter what Viserys may or may not have said on his deathbed, I know he would not want his daughter to be killed for this. And she tries to do it peacefully. And I love Alicent as a character. Older Alicent is a great character.
Older Alicent is great because you know, like, the weight of the world is on her shoulders.
Oh, yeah.
Because not only does she have to worry about her children and the fact that the ascending heir to the throne is someone that could potentially take out her children for being rivals. Oh, yeah. And she has that as a worry, even though her father definitely implanted that worry in her. Otto did that. It's also like a worry for him as well because he wants to preserve his family, she wants to preserve her family, and she wants to make sure that their line is going to be like the one that's going to be ascending the throne because that's going to give them the most protection. Yeah. And they're definitely doing it for self-preservation. You know it. You may disagree with them. You may think that it's unwise because Rhaenyra, I don't think, would do that to her.
No.
But man, you definitely see like the worry in her because she doesn't want to kill Rhaenyra. And in that small council scene when everyone has been revealing that they've been plotting for this for a while, she's like, yo, what the frick? Like, what?
They kept her out of it because they know she wouldn't have advocated for it. Because, like, I think her position as queen, she sees more of the pressures of, like, the ruler, whether it's a king or a queen. Because, like, people were pressuring Viserys to name Aegon heir when he was born. And then, like, and to marry off Rhaenyra and just make her, like, a lady somewhere. So she sees that there's pressure being put not only on Viserys, but also her, because she's... As a mother, she's like, I don't want my children to be dead. And there's the risk, like, she thinks that if Rhaenyra takes the throne, there's going to be that pressure on her to get rid of Aegon and Aemond and Helaena, and Aegon and Helena's children, which are only there for, like, 2 seconds. Like, I'm kind of sad. Like,
yeah, they're freaking gone.
They're there, but, like, at the same time, like, Alicent has her children, and Rhaenyra has her children. Rhaenyra has 3 sons who are... of questionable parentage, but you know what?
Well, we know their parentage. Okay. It's just unfortunate.
I'll get into it later, but Harwin Strong, like the boy's father, like I didn't realize how much he was actually in the series.
I didn't care about him at all. Like he wasn't there nearly long enough. I forgot about him entirely, to be honest with you.
Same, and I'm mad about it because in the books he's a great character. And like, what is it?
I've heard that.
Episode 6 or whatever, when she has Joffrey, the third child. When she has him, he's there, and I'm like, who is this guy? Like, the first time I watched it, I was like, who is this guy? Like, obviously, he's the kid's father, but I'm like, where did he come into...
I just got flashbacks to, like, the worst kid ever. Like, Joffrey, like, oh, no, the worst.
Exactly. I'm like, because, honestly, I thought the boys were Kristens at first. Like, they had gotten back together.
Me too.
And then Harwin comes in, and I'm like, who the hell is this? And then I went back and watched, like, the first, like, 5 episodes. He's in it a lot more than you think. Like, he's there when Daemon and Rhaenyra are sneaking around the city. He's the guard that catches her.
Oh, yeah, you did tell me this. I forgot about that.
And he's also the one that, like, during the wedding with the chaos, when Kristen starts beating the heck out of Laenor, like, that Joffrey, he's the one that goes in the crowd and grabs her. And then he's also in the camp scene when they're out on the hunt for Aegon's second birthday.
That, yeah.
He's, like, watching her from the sidelines like a total creep, and I'm just like, So he's in the series a lot more than everyone
and
thought.
He follows the kids.
And dies.
And dies. I wish that they would have developed those characters more. And again, so I do love the series. I do love the series overall. I love that it is very much family drama at the center, and it's what made Game of Thrones great. Mm-hmm. It didn't amplify the crazy fantasy elements. It just made the interpersonal politics the core. Yeah. And again, I love the fantasy stuff of Game of Thrones, but the politics of Game of Thrones was the reason why everyone kept going back. So I like the series. I'm really excited for where it goes because the ending was beautiful and great, and I love those characters, especially Viserys, Daemon, and older Rhaenyra. The problems that I have with it, the time jumps are They really hurt the show in a lot of ways because they stop character development in its tracks. Like young Rhaenyra might have gotten into a really interesting spot, but we lost track of her because we stopped her story and started older Rhaenyra, which is in a completely different place than young Rhaenyra. And again, like that character you were saying earlier, whose name I forgot.
Who?
The father of Rhaenyra's children.
Harwin.
Yeah, Harwin. I had forgotten that he existed, and I didn't even know his name
and
until
then
someone told
he's
me.
There. He's like, and I fathered 3 children with her, and I'm just like, who?
Yeah.
Who are you?
So that's a problem, and I think the show kind of suffers from, the wit is not quite there as it used to be in Game of Thrones. Because Game of Thrones definitely had its honorable, stoic, strong characters, but it compromised that, or not compromised that, it balanced that out with characters like Tyrion and Jaime and characters that were very, very witty and very aggressively bantery. And it had a lot of these variety characters, and I know that this show doesn't necessarily have that big variety. It's more closed down, more family oriented, but I don't feel like the writing is necessarily as strong as it was in the first or up until 6th season of Game of Thrones. And I know that people say 1 through 4 is the best seasons. I like seasons 1 through 6. I think those are I think 5 and 6 are worthy additions. 7 cool, 8 all right. I'll get to 8 in a bit because I do want to address that 8 comment.
Yeah. I don't like 8. Sorry.
I'll fight you on that. Let's go.
I think my favorite characters in the series are Viserys and Daemon.
It tends to be the case, yeah.
Yeah.
Me too, yeah.
Viserys, excellent character. I think he's very well written. And, again, George R.R. Martin said Paddy Considine, the guy that plays Viserys, played him better than how he was written in the books, which that man does not get an award for it. I will be upset. He does not get some type of award for that role.
You made a scene where you walked from one staircase to a chair. Intriguing.
He's a great character. Daemon is a great character as well. I'll give it to you. Young Rhaenyra is kind of annoying. She is kind of annoying. Older Rhaenyra is very cool. Older Alicent is a great character.
I like Alicent throughout because she definitely has... She's doing her duty.
She's doing her
best. In the very beginning. She's just doing her best. What are you doing? My best.
She's doing her best.
But later on, you can see the stress is getting to her.
Oh yeah, she's a great character too. Aemond, like him, he's cool. He's an interesting character.
Yeah, but will you agree that the writing is not necessarily as on par, or do you think it's the same?
No, I think it's. I agree. Game of Thrones had better writing. I think it felt. There was a lot more going on in Game of Thrones.
That's true.
As well. There was a lot of intersecting storylines. I do think the writing was better. They're definitely missing that banter. The only sarcastic one in House of the Dragon is Daemon.
Yeah.
Daemon is the only one that has any sort of wit about him.
And you know that in one of the greatest scenes with him in it, you see how spiteful he is for when Viserys is trying to send him extra men for the war against the Crab King. And he gets the news of it. He beats the messenger to a pulp and then single-handedly goes out there and says, "No, I'm going to end this war by myself today."
He's very proud, and that's probably his fatal flaw is he's very proud.
We get to see this character who's incredibly arrogant and kind of psychopathic, but you empathize with him because you know his struggles and his wants to be loved by his family and his love for his family because it's definitely there. You can't deny that he has a love for his family.
That is true.
Let's get to that. He sleeps with his niece.
Well, you also have to remember, that's how the Valyrians, the Targaryens, and the Velaryons, like, that's how they did things.
I know.
Okay, there were people in our world that did that back when there were still kings and queens.
Very
of every
true,
country.
and I'm aware of this. That is not mean from my modern sense, and I hate it when people say, like, we know so much better nowadays than anyone that we did back then. Everyone nowadays is on depression medications. So
well, at least we know not to interbreed with our cousins.
That's true. Except you live in Alabama, which is why they did it. Ding, 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 ding. But
oh my God, everyone from Alabama is going to be mad now.
I don't care.
You pissed off the Doctor Who fans in the first time we talked about House of the Dragon.
I did, because
and
Doctor
now
Who's
you've pissed
trash.
off all the Alabama people. I think, okay, I could ignore the family connections for the most part.
I mean, I could ignore it too. I know what,
I love Rhaenyra and Daemon's relationship. And I could, like, anytime I watch them together, especially older when they're actually married and they have children together, I was chilling, it's fine. And then she'd call him uncle, and I was like, no!
You said that.
Stop!
And she said that right before they decided to, have some fun in the sand.
Why say it?
In the cracks. The cracks.
Right after his wife's funeral, too.
Yeah, well, he's kind of crazy.
That's not I was not happy with that scene. Like, if we're going to show them, like, finally, like, being together, show it some other way.
Yeah.
Any other way, not on a beach at night after his wife's funeral. No.
That's weird. Anyway, but yes, it fits within the world, and you know the context of it. That's why it works. So you're not, like, oh, they're related. Like, well, in this world, that's fine.
I mean, Daemon and Rhaenyra are not as bad. You remember Aegon and Helena, who are full siblings, get married and have children.
Yeah, and those children are going to be like, children have no chance.
Conspiracy theory, I think those children are Aemon's, not Aegon's, because he's too much of a drunkard to actually, like, father children with Helena, and I think Aemon and Helena would be a better couple.
It's entirely possible.
There's hints, and I think it's them.
We're talking about brother and sister romance.
I still think their relationship would be better than Aegon's, like, literally a drunken usurper
cunt
of a king.
At this point, a skunk in his own fart would be a better relationship than Aemond and anybody.
I will say...
I mean, not Aemond, Aegon.
Aegon. I will say the actor that plays Aegon is very talented.
Yeah, all the acting is, like, superb from everybody.
They got great. The casting choices,
solid,
excellent,
perfect.
Especially for the characters that they age. Like, they don't age Daemon. They don't change actors for Daemon or Kristen. Kristen is immortal the entire time.
Freaking guy does not age.
Kristen, I hate him because he literally, like, beats the hell out of literally beats someone to death at Rhaenyra's wedding. Tries to commit suicide, and Alicent's like, no. I'll take you. And no one says anything. Like,
he doesn't face any repercussions for anything.
He gets away with so many things throughout the series. And I'm just like, is no one going to, like, discipline him?
Because he's a cook.
I swear, I think he was Alicent.
It's possible.
I think he was.
Because she ain't doing that to her husband.
I think, well, she did. She had 3 children by Viserys.
Oh, yeah, we did get to see that, didn't we? That's in your brain now. You're welcome.
4. I hated that they intercut those scenes together, like the brothel with Daemon and Rhaenyra, and then...
2 scenes I don't want to see intercutting between. Like...
Sorry. Welcome back to the gagging podcast where we just die over...
It sounds like that mean noise, like... Oh.
Because, like, episode... like, to go off on a tangent now, episode 4 is a very interesting episode.
Episode 4... I did. Okay,
that
so
brothel scene though.
I saw a lot of memes beforehand that were shipping these two. Again, I didn't know they got together. I thought that was like just fan clubs or something. I didn't know they actually did get together. And then I watched the episode, and he brought her into the brothel. Like, wait a minute. And the entire time I was like scooting back in my chair, like, wait, no, let's not do this. No. And I broke my table. I'm stuck.
Back from the break, Jacob. We fixed things.
I had an old man moment.
That scene, I was like, because he just like took her out into the city for some adventure, and then they went into the. As soon as he like pulled her hat off, I was like,
nope, that's exactly
what's going on.
Like, oh no.
And then there was just a bunch of naked people everywhere, and I was just like, well, this went from 0 to, because like up until that point, there's no like there's hints, but there's no obvious, like, they have, like, romantic feelings for each other. Like, up until that point, like, you just think they're close. Mm-hmm. Probably a little too close, but they're not, like, they're not, like, doing anything weird. Like,
exactly.
It's pretty chill up until that point, and then that happens, and you're like, well, this just took a sharp left turn into what the f***ville?
Yeah. And Viserys is not happy about it either. I mean, he knows about his, line of, Targaryens, like,
which I don't
having a great time with their siblings.
I don't see why he didn't take Daemon up on the offer.
Because he doesn't like Daemon.
Yeah, that would make Daemon, like, king consort eventually when you're in your world, and I think he's scared of that.
And he just, like,
but then he lets him get married later, and it's fine, so...
I think at that point, like, he's just out of his control. And I definitely think at that point, like, Viserys' grief is just taking over, and he just wants people to be happy.
He just wants his family together. And he's like, yeah you can... to be fair, they kind of get married in secret, too, so...
That's true.
But, like, honestly, like... I mean, and then they don't actually, like, do much. And then Daemon's like, yep, I f***ed her. And, like, no one questions that. And Rhaenyra doesn't even really deny it. She, like... lies about.
Oh, she totally denies
it. She denies everything to Alicent. She completely lies to Alicent, but like she just kind of is just like, yeah, no. And like no one really talks about it otherwise, and I'm just like, I mean, at least he made the offer to marry her. I mean,
at least he tried. He's like, hey, at least like
he's like lying on the floor. He's like, I like completely being a douche, and then he's like, I'll marry her.
Yeah, he Beyonce'd her straight up.
And Viserys is like, you'll be lucky I don't kill you here and now.
Pulled a knife on his brother.
Did pull a knife on his
Sarah's
brother.
like, shing, I'll kill you right now. Let's talk about Game of Thrones again for a second.
Oh, God. We're going to season 8. I don't like it. I'm just going to put that out there. I don't like it.
I like season 8.
I don't.
I have the same problems that everyone else has, though. And I didn't realize, like, the hatred was so aggressive. And I went to go, like, watch some reviews for House of Dragon. And don't get me wrong, I love House of Dragon. I'm really interested to see where this goes. It's definitely my favorite show of the year thus far, especially since I haven't seen a lot. And the only other thing that I've seen is Karate Kid or Cobra Kai, which is also awesome.
I don't have feelings about it. I haven't watched it.
It's freaking awesome.
My dad has watched it. I don't care.
I watched all 5 seasons in 2 weeks.
You also did that with Game of Thrones, and that was 8 seasons.
Yes.
So.
Well, I was sick for a good portion of that time.
You were.
So I just binged a lot of crap.
Yeah, I don't care about Cobra Kai.
Do you remember I think we talked about this last time, like the time where I talked about the Red Wedding. That was rough. Okay, so the 8th...
Season 8.
Season 8. I have the same feelings that everyone else has, but I don't have the same hatred. Because part of it is, like, this is going to seem incredibly, like, pinky in the air, thumb on my butt kind of thing. I love the craft behind season 8. Like, the craft, the directing, the cinematography, the acting, all of it is, like, top freaking notch season 8. And you see the behind the scenes and the dedication that the entire crew went into, like, crafting season 8 as just a visual medium. Like, the ending episode and, like, pretty much every episode up to that is, like, visually, like, it is gorgeous. And, like, the callbacks to the previous seasons when Daenerys now. Ooh. Daenerys is walking through, like, the ash-covered room with the Iron Throne. It calls back to, I think, season 2 or I think it was season 2. When she saw that room, and I'd forgotten about that. Like, that's a great callback. That's a beautiful callback. And I love what they did with Brienne of Tarth, and I like where Tyrion ended up, and a lot of the action scenes are beautiful. And, like, there's so many things about season 8 that I think so many people overlook because there are a lot of bad things, and they destroy Jaime's character entirely. They screw up Jon Snow. They rush Daenerys' character. They rush Cersei's. Like, so much of that they just rush, and they could have been like 2 extra seasons where the 9th season or the 8th season was the Battle of Winterfell or the Long Night. Like, the entire season was the Long Night.
And then made season 9.
And then made season 9.
I agree. They could have split it.
But what we got was still, like, a visual, like, amazingness. And, like, who's the redheaded guy? Who's a wildling?
Tormund?
I love him so much.
Love him. He's a great character.
Where's the big woman?
He's a great character. I didn't like season 8, and this is going to be me being a snob. It's not based off of one of the books.
It's not.
So, which isn't saying
Nor
a lot.
is season 7 or really any of the prior seasons after season 4.
Season
5 is. I take it back.
Up until season 7, they're based off of the books.
I thought it was like up until season 5 and like a little bit of season 6.
No, most of it up until like most of season, maybe like 3/4 of season 7 is based off the books.
Okay, there's definitely a lot of creative liberties though.
Oh yeah, because like the books are chunky. Yeah. Like they're like
chunk.
Like George R. R. Martin, it's like Tolkien-esque, like levels of like just not needed detail. Like there's so much in those books, which is why it took me forever to read them. Point being, season 8 was not based off of one of the books, and like that's me being a snob and wanting to read the book before the season came out and have my own opinions. Sorry, but it felt very rushed for a season. I think it could have been 2 seasons. They could have dragged it out. I was kind of unhappy with some of the cinematography, like the Battle of Winterfell, where you can see absolutely nothing. Nothing.
I can agree on some of those aspects.
I didn't like it.
But other aspects, like, remember the very beginning where the Red Lady comes in and doesn't die because she should always die, and touches one of the swords, and all the swords light up, and then they all charge, and then they all slowly disappear. Like, that's freaking terrifying. That was
terrifying. But also, I'm like, fire cannot be the only thing lighting up. Like, I'm glad it looked genuine. Like, in an actual situation, you would not be able to see. Yeah. But, like, going back to Tolkien, the Battle of Helm's Deep, you shouldn't have been able to see any of that. And they were like, the lighting is, like, there was, you could still see it.
I agree. It should have been it should have been way more clear.
It is still terrifying to see all that, like, the light go, and then, like, eventually, like, they light it up with dragon fire, but I'm also like, I would like to be able to see something other than a black screen.
I can agree with that, and I agree that Battle of Helm's Deep is amazing and beautiful, but the lighting in that is very unrealistic because you can see everything, and you wouldn't be able to. But at the same time, like,
be able to see everything.
I like that they have that creative season. They stuck with it, and then they worked off their limitations because of that. And that's what a lot of indie filmmakers have to do, because they do have those limitations, and they have to work off those. They created their own limitations in a way, and they kind of worked off it. And I think a lot of the ways that battle really worked out, and I still love to see that battle. Like, it was a great scene. It was a great episode.
Like, Battle of Winterfell is a great battle. Like, there's some character choices that I don't like. Like,
oh no, Arya's ending with the night, that was stupid.
Arya killing the Night King, and we talked about this in the first episode. What's his face?
Whose face? You gotta describe the face before I can tell you the face.
Oh God. Theon. I didn't like him dying for Bran. We talked about this. I didn't like him dying for Bran. But aside from that, season 8 is visually stunning. But I think they rushed some of the characters, like some of the changes for the characters, like Dany going like crazy. John being, like you said, a cuck.
Yeah, like, a cuck. My queen. That's all.
Literally,
that's most of the dialogue.
No sense for his character.
Stupid. Like,
but Tyrion,
you should have stopped 4 episodes ago. Yeah. She's going nuts. She doesn't have to go nuts. She doesn't need to go nuts. She just is going nuts because the plot needs her to go nuts.
Yeah, but Tyrion's a good character. I liked how it ended, except I wish it hadn't, because apparently there's supposed to be another book. After there's supposed to be 2 more books. So the book that would have been season 8 isn't out yet, and there's supposed to be another one after that. So I'm like, I don't know what they're gonna do with that.
But they're doing a Jon Snow prequel because they remember, if you remember the Song of Ice and Fire, they say the prince that's promised. They're talking about Jon Snow, in my opinion.
Are they?
Yes.
You are you sure about that?
Yes, because
Valyrian doesn't have gender, so princess is the same word.
I was going to make that argument of the gender, and then you said that, and that changes things.
What if it's Dany, but she just goes psycho in the end?
But it's not Dany. I think it's a
Jon.
prophecy. But
I think it's Jon.
I guess so. Here's one thing I do like about George R. R. Martin's writing. When they talk about like the gods in this universe, never at any point in time is there ever a confirmation that the gods are real.
Yeah, like even the the Lord of Light, they never like fully reveal that. I think they talk about it more in the books, like there's more confirmation in the books, but like the the religion in Game of Thrones is very like, it's there, it's a motivating factor for a lot of people, but it's not like they're not getting super mystical with it.
No, and I like that. And again, it really like develops the world a lot because there you meet so many people like so many different religions.
Oh, yeah.
And even like in Game of Thrones, you have the old gods and the new.
Yeah.
Where in House of Dragon, you just have the gods.
Well, we never get to see like the old gods are primarily like the northern regions of Westeros.
Yeah.
And we don't really see anything like like House of the Dragon is very contained to like some select places, like mostly Dragonstone and King's Landing, and that's about it. Like we don't really see much.
And the Crab Kingdoms, or Mr.
The
Crab
Stepstones.
Yeah, the Stepstones.
Like we don't see like Game of Thrones. There's lots of storylines, so there's people everywhere. So we get to see the different like regions and how it's different there. But
I'm dying over here.
But
please continue.
I'm offended. Am I that boring for you? How dare you?
I don't like you that much. I just wanted to bring you on the podcast, have an entire podcast, and just tell you that I don't like you that much.
Yeah, after I was here the last time too, I'm just...
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, it's just... We don't see a lot of the other, places in just the world in general in House of the Dragon, so we don't see that. But, then again, religion doesn't play a huge part. There's,
It's not, and the focus is where it needs to be.
Alicent, I think, becomes a little bit of a religious nut towards the end, because she's, the Seven, and she wears, the symbol and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But that's about it.
But even then, she's again, the stark contrast between Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones is very sprawling, very epic.
Very.
House of Dragon is very intimate. It's very family oriented.
Yeah.
And that's a great thing that separates both the series. Mm-hmm. That House of Dragon feels a little more personal, and Game of Thrones is a bit more sprawling, more epic. Again, you can choose which one you like more, but I do feel like at the end of the day, these definitely take place in the same world.
Oh yeah.
And you definitely feel the struggle that each of those characters have. And those series have, and I think both of them do a really good job at what they, go for.
I just want to add,
no, but keep going.
Fine. House of the Dragon has more of a focus. It's very contained, but Game of Thrones, there's more characters to it, so that's why it's so expansive. So that's all I wanted to say. I like both of them.
Did you turn into basic white
a valley girl? Yeah, no.
That's all I wanted to say.
I wanted to say.
I should say it. If you watch Game of Thrones, there are some serious spoilers on how this is going to end.
Yeah. I mean, if you've read the book, you know how it ends.
If you read the book, or if you rewatch Game... this is part of the problem with one of my friends actually called me recently and said, yo, I did not know that there was this big of a spoiler in Game of Thrones because he's rewatching Game of Thrones.
With Stannis' daughter?
Yes. And specifically, there's a scene with Joffrey where he's explaining what happens. Yeah. He did not know because he's rewatching Game of Thrones because...
Reasons.
Because he just wants to rewatch it because he's finished House of Dragon. He wants to rewatch Game of Thrones. But he did not know. He didn't read the books. He didn't know how it ends. And he got to that scene with Joffrey, and he explained how how House of Dragon ends. And it's not good.
Is that how it ends, though?
Not necessarily how it ends. How one specific character meets their fate. Spoilers alert in 3, 2, 1. What's her name?
Rhaenyra?
Rhaenyra gets eaten by a dragon in front of her kids.
But does she?
I don't know.
History is...
Joffrey's an idiot. Who knows?
History is written by the conquerors.
If she was the conqueror, which she had written down that she got eaten by a dragon in front of her kids.
It doesn't necessarily mean she died. Just because you
it's kind of hard to live when you're eaten by a dragon.
That's not my point. I'm saying, if Aegon won, does that necessarily mean Rhaenyra died?
No. And I do agree with you that history can be very different. Mm-hmm. But I am saying that's what's in the history books according to Game of Thrones. Mm-hmm. And Joffrey may be insane, but he's also been told that by somebody.
Oh, yeah. If that's, the well-known history, then, yeah. But I'm not going to say anything. I'm just excited for Season 2. It's not coming out until 2024, though.
Just got to rewatch Game of Thrones again.
Yeah, just binge Game of Thrones for the next 2 years. So.
Caitlin.
What?
It's going to be it. It's going to be it. You want to stare into Steve's eyes? You want to have the pleasure?
I can't. I'm just kind of looking at his nose hole right now, Oh my god. I can see one eye. Yeah.
Like, what is it? Batman and Batman Begins. Look at me.
Look at me.
Look at my eyes.
Look at my eyes.
Thanks for coming by and talking more Game of Thrones garbage and,
course.
Alabama nonsense with me.
Alabama nonsense.
I don't like that that's what we have to refer to in Game of Thrones, but it's part of it.
Guerras Elias means farewell in High Valyrian. Because I'm a nerd.
You were ready for that moment.
I have my freaking notebook, right?
High Valyrian.
Guerras Elias.
Yes. How do you say that? Guerras
Elias.
Guerras Elias.
I can't roll my R's very well, so.
I can't roll it either.
Guerras Elias.
No. I can't do that. Gero Eos. Texan accent, High Valyrian.
Guerras Elias.
Ayo, Geros Eos. Senorito.
Oh my God.
All right, that's going to be it. Ernesto, roll those credits, boy.